Mangalam Kausalendraya Mahaniya Gunabdhaye Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam Veda Vedanta Vidyaya Meghashyamala Murtaye Pumsam Mohana Rupaya Punyashlokaya Mangalam Vishwamitrantharangaya Mithila Nagaripate Bhagyanam Paripakaya Bhavya Rupaya Mangalam Pitrabhaktaya Satatam Bhratibhi Sahasitaya Nanditakhila Lokaya Rama Bhadraya Mangalam Tyakta Saketa Vasaya Chitrakuta Viharine Sevyaya Sarvayaminam Dhirodaraya Mangalam Saumitrina Cha Janakya Chapabana Shidharine Samsevyaya Sada Bhaktya Swamine Mama Mangalam Dandakaranyavasaya Khandlitamara Shatrave Gridra Rajaya Bhaktaya Muktidayastu Mangalam Sadaram Shabari Datta Falamulabhilashine Saulabhya Paripurnaya Sattvodrityaya Mangalam Hanumat Samavetaya Harishabhishtadayine Vali Pramathanayastu Mahadhiraya Mangalam Srimate Raghuviraya Setu Langhita Sindhave Jita Rakshasa Rajaya Ranadhiraya Mangalam Asadya Nagarim Divyam Abhishiktaya Sitaya Rajadhiraja Rajaya Rama Bhadraya Mangalam Mangala Shasana Parair Madacharya Purogamaihi Sarvaischa Purvairacharyai Satkritayastu Mangalam Mangala Shasana Parair Madacharya Purogamaihi Sarvaischa Purvairacharyai Satkritayastu Mangalam.
Welcome, everybody, to the celebration of Sri Rama's birthday. We will be having a talk in a moment by Anjan Bhise, who's joining us from Adelaide, and that'll be followed by a talk by Gayatriprana. And then you're invited to stay back for some sweets and savouries that have been offered. And thanks to those joining us via Zoom as well. And as usual, we're recording this. It will all go up onto YouTube later. So I will now invite Anjan to give her talk. Just give me a moment, Anjan. I need to do a bit of setting up. Yes, please go ahead, Anjan. We can see you and hear you.
Pranam Mataji, my pranam to Sri Ram on his birthday. I will speak today or share with you the story of Ram and Bharat, one incident from Ramayana. Would like to begin with Ramastuti. Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajamana Harana Bhava Bhaya Dharunam Nava Kanja Lochana Kanja Mukhakar Kanja Pada Kanjarunam. One day when Narad Muni was visiting his ashram, Rishi Valmiki asked him, in this world today, is there anyone who is heroic, well-versed in duties, true in speech, firm in vows, who is endowed with character, who is kind to all, who is brilliant and devoid of envy? Narad Muni paused for a moment and then he declared, yes, though you have enumerated many and rare virtues, there is one person who possesses the almost impossible combination of qualities. He is Ram, king of Ayodhya, born in the solar dynasty, Suryavanshi, son of Dashrath. Then he briefly related the story of story of Ram, which Valmiki then wrote it as Ramayana. It is regarded as the Adi Kavya, first of all the poetic works in Sanskrit. It is an epic poem which teaches Sanatan Dharma, the eternal law of righteous conduct, through great personalities, in this instance, mainly the illustrious Sri Ram. We all know the story of Ram, a prince of Ayodhya, who gave up his claim to the throne to keep the promise given by his father to his stepmother Kaikeyi. She had asked for two boons. First, that Ram be sent away to forest for 14 years. And the second, that Bharat, her son, be installed as the king. Ram, Sita, and Lakshman left the palace, left Ayodhya on the very same day. Ram did not question the fairness of or otherwise of this command. He was simply being a dutiful son. King Dashrath dies of grief. He dies of grief of separation from his beloved son. He cannot bear that he has, in a way, sentenced Ram to 14 years of harsh life in the forest. Messengers are sent to Bharat, who was at that time with his maternal uncle. Bharat was devastated when he came to Ayodhya, and he found that his revered father had passed away, and his beloved brother Ram, together with Lakshman and Sita, had gone to the forest. His anger combined with grief was scorching towards his mother. Kaikeyi thought that she had secured a kingdom for her son, but instead, Bharat, who was wise and righteous, he denounced her. Then his love and the determination to right or correct the wrong done by his mother takes over. And he proceeds to the forest to bring back Ram to Ayodhya. It is at this meeting where many of those qualities that I read out earlier, sought by Valmiki, are displayed by Ram. Bharat did not go alone. Accompanying him was Shatrughna, Guru Vasishta, the three queens, including his mother Kaikeyi, ministers, and a few citizens. King Janak, his queen, and his entourage from Mithila joined them a day later. So many major characters of Ramayana come together for a momentous meeting of two brothers. Whereas Lakshman thinks that Bharat has brought an army to kill them, Ram assures that the righteous Bharat won't even dream of doing such thing. He lovingly embraces Bharat when, after saluting Vasishta, he turns to the three queens. He chooses to bow and touch the feet of Kaikai first, not his mother Kaushalya. Why? Because he knew that of all people, she was the one who was carrying the heaviest of burden. Anger, hatred, and curses of many, many people of Ayodhya. Look at the spontaneous compassion towards Kaikai. Only after completing the obligatory rites, rituals for their recently departed father, does Ram ask Bharat the purpose of his coming to the forest. Up till now, it was the meeting of bereaved family members. Now, this assembly turns rather formal and serious, with Guru Vasishta presiding over. Sri Ram bows to Vasishta and says, "My Guru's wish is as a command to me. I will give or do whatever you ask." Vasishta says he has not come to ask for anything. He only requests that Ram give due consideration to what Bharat has to say, as Bharat has come with great love to plead to him. Each and every person present there wants Ram to come back to Ayodhya and be their king. Bharat has brought the crown and other things required for coronation. With folded hands, Bharat says that he never wanted to be a king, and all this has been brought about by the result of wicked manipulation of his mother. Again, according to our family tradition, dynasty, it is the eldest son who sits on the throne. Younger brother on the throne while older one is still alive is totally unrighteous. He is humbly putting forward arguments like they do in a court. But essentially, he is begging Sri Ram to forgive him and go back to status quo. He can't bear life without Sri Ram. The entire gathering, all the people are tense and anxious. Only Sri Ram is calm and collected. He addresses Bharat. Our noble father gave a promise that I live in the forest for 14 years. Is it not the duty of a son to honor his father by keeping that promise? If I go back, will I not disgrace myself and bring disrepute to our father's memory? You too have a duty to rule the kingdom, Bharat, if you want to honor our father's promise. We have loved and respected our noble father when alive. Tell me, Bharat, how should we behave after his death? You tell me what our duty should be, yours and mine. Sri Ram does not teach or preach the righteous behavior. Like a parent, he gets the answer from the child. The child knows the correct answer, but he does not want to accept it. Of course, Bharat knows that Ram would not take any action which is against dharma. So he says, you do what you think is your duty, and I will do what I think is right. At present, I can't think of ethics and promises and politics and duties. I will give up my life outside your Paranakuti. Both brothers are saved from further discussion due to the arrival of King Janak, father of Sita. Janak is known as Rajarshi, that is, he is a king as well as Rishi, knower of scriptures and well versed in politics. Duty of a son to father, duty of a prince to the kingdom. Bharat stands for love and surrender. Ram stands for righteous duty. For us, Bharat's argument seems correct, or at least to me. Surely Ram should go back if Bharat himself does not want to become a king. All the more so because Kaikeyi has withdrawn her demands in front of all. And she has released Ram from all their obligations. King Dashrath had consulted all his ministers and they all unanimously endorsed Ram to be the king. On the other hand, Sri Ram insists that he must do whatever is required of him to keep the promise given by his father. That filial duty takes precedent over all other duties. As Janak takes his seat, Sri Ram bows to him. Courtesy and reverence never forgotten. Due respect given no matter what the circumstances. He says, "You are like a father to me. I will accept your decision." That is, if the verdict is in favor of Bharat, Ram will be crowned the king before all those who are present. After praying and thinking for a while, Janak pronounces that love and surrender of Bharat has won the day. That love is above all other dharma or duties. A wave of relief passes over all. Only Ram remains the same, calm and serene. Not at all disturbed by the verdict against him. But before the ministers and the queens and the brothers can jump for joy, Janak, the wise arbitrator, reminds Bharat that true love does not ask, does not demand anything from the beloved. Instead, it gives whatever the beloved wants. Because the power and the strength of love lies in the unselfishness of the person. Now it is Bharat who bows and thanks Janak. Why? Because up till now he was thinking his love was selfish, what he wanted Ram to do. Because now he clearly knows what he should do. He was standing, or he was across Ram. Now he moves and kneels before Sri Ram. What will make you happy? What do you want me to do? And Ram says, I will accept the crown of Ayodhya, but I want you to look after my kingdom. Be the administrator for 14 years while I'm in the forest. I will take charge of it when I come back. Then comes the most touching scene. Bharat asks Sri Ram to give him his paduka, his wooden sandals. With great reverence, he picks them up and places them on his head, with his tears rolling down his eyes, proceeds back to Ayodhya. In Ayodhya, he ceremoniously places them on the throne, and he lives outside Ayodhya in an ashram-like place and conducts all the state affairs. Janak and Vasishta give him the title of Mahatma Bharat, while Sri Ram is Maryada Purush. The two brothers do not see each other for 14 years, but Bharat is never too far from thoughts of Sri Ram. Bharat's love is a unique love, that of a brotherly love together with sevak bhav, that is that of a servant, which is the most unusual, or it's the only one of its kind in the epic. Jai Shri Ram. I will just conclude with Rama's a small bhajan. सिर पे मुकुट सजे मुख पे उजाला, हाथ धनुष गले में पुष्पमाला, हम दास इनके हम तुम हमरे स्वामी, अनजान हम ये अंतर्यामी। शीश झुकाओ राम गुण गाओ, बोलो जय विष्णु के अवतारी, राम जी की निकली सवारी, राम जी की लीला है न्यारी। एक तरफ लक्ष्मण एक तरफ सीता, बीच में जगत के पालनहारी, राम जी की निकली सवारी, राम जी की लीला है न्यारी। बोलो श्री रामचंद्र की जय।
Thank you very much, Anjan, for the beautiful talk and beautiful singing, multi-talented person you are. And I did forget to mention that she's a long-time devotee. She's attending Gayatriprana Mataji's talks from way, way back in Adelaide. So we've had many, many years of friendship with Anjan, very bright person to be with. So now I invite Gayatriprana to give her talk.
Thank you, Anjan. It was so beautiful. And we got, in a very few words, the early part of the Ramayana story. Thank you very much. Logabhiramam Ranarangadhiram Rajiva Netram Raghuvamsanatham Karunya Rupam Karunakaram Tam Sri Ramachandram Sharanam Prapadye. I surrender at the feet of Sri Ramachandra, who delights the world, valorous in battle, lotus-eyed, lord of the dynasty of the Raghus, kindness personified, and who performs acts of kindness. The characters of Rama and Sita have deeply influenced the people of India for thousands of years. That can easily be inferred by looking at the very many versions of Ramayana. Ramayana means the story of Rama, saga of Rama. The original work, as you already heard, is by Valmiki in Sanskrit. There are other Sanskrit Ramayanas are there, known as Adhyatma Ramayana, Vasishta Ramayana, Ananda Ramayana, and Agastya Ramayana. Then there is Ramayana in all the different Indian languages. And there is Kamba Ramayana in Tamil, Tulsidas Ramayana or Ramcharitamanas in Hindi, Krittivas Ramayana in Bengali, Edutachan's Ramayana in Malayalam. Then there is Telugu, Oriya, Goan language, all different languages of Indian languages, there is Ramayana. They say there are about 300 versions of Ramayana, not just in Indian languages. There is an Indonesian version called Javanese Kakavin Ramayana. There's a Thailand version, Rama came. The Laos version, Lao Fra Lak Fra La. I don't know whether pronouncing properly. Then there's a Burmese version, then Vietnamese, Philippines, Malaysian, Singapore, Chinese, Tibetan, Japanese, Cambodian. Then there's a Persian version commissioned by Emperor Akbar. A Urdu version written in 1776. Then there are numerous English translations. Then countless other works, poems, dramas, dances, and other art forms based on Ramayana. So we can say that literally the words that Brahma told Valmiki when he asked him to write the story of Rama is literally true. Brahma said, as long as the mountains stand and the rivers flow, so long shall Ramayana be cherished among men and save them from sin. So we see that after all these thousands and thousands of years, still it is very, very strong and influential. Why is there so much of attraction, this fascination for this ancient hero? What can we learn in modern time from them, Rama and Sita? Swami Vivekananda says, Rama, the ancient idol of the heroic ages, the embodiment of truth, of morality, the ideal son, the ideal husband, the ideal father, and above all, the ideal king. This Rama has been presented before us by the great sage Valmiki. He is an ideal for everything. We all need a role model, an ideal person we want to follow, shape our lives accordingly. So we want somebody whom we can look up to. When we see a high ideal in someone's life, we appreciate it, even if we are not able to follow it properly, follow it fully. So Valmiki has described an ideal human character, one in whom all the virtues are present in the highest degree. Such a character is not bound by time or place or society. That is why Rama is an ideal character for humanity in general. So that's why there is so much of influence. These characters, Rama, Sita, and all the other characters of Ramayana has got so much influence on humanity even now, after all these years. Among all the virtues exemplified by Rama, the highest place is given to truthfulness. We already heard from Anjan how to hold on to truthfulness, he had to give up the kingdom. Truthfulness in both sense. That means, what are the two senses? Speak the truth and keep up the given word. Keeping up or fulfill the promise. That is also truthfulness. Both are truth. The two aspects of truth. So it is to keep up the given word of his father, Dasharatha's promise, that Rama had to forego his claim to the kingdom. And we see that when Rama was asked to come and Dasharatha to be told about his exile, Dasharatha was overcome by grief that he could not speak. So Kaikeyi, Rama asked Kaikeyi, what's the matter? What does father want me to do? Then Kaikeyi says, oh, he is so upset to tell you, but as a truthful son, as a dutiful son, it is your duty to fulfill whatever father's words are. Then she doesn't say directly what it is. So Rama is not happy with this roundabout description. So he says, There is no need to speak to me in this way. I swear I shall do whatever my father wants me to do. Then there's a famous utterance, Rama never indulges in double talk. Rama never indulges in double talk. What he says, he do. Whatever he's supposed to do, he will do. We can understand this extreme greatness of the devotion, extreme devotion to truthfulness, when we remember that God is truth. How do we describe Brahman? Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahma. Brahma is truth. Jnanam, Anandam comes later. The first place is truth. Satyam, truth. So he who loves truth loves God. He who does not love truth can never love God unless a complete change in nature in the person's character happens. Otherwise, can never love God. That is why truthfulness is given so much importance. And among all the virtues that Rama exemplifies, truthfulness is on the highest scale. In Valmiki Ramayana, Rama is, or I should say, Valmiki recognizes that Rama is God incarnate, taken a human form. But it's kept in the background. Only right in the beginning, when Brahma goes to Lord Vishnu asking for help because of the atrocities of the evildoers that are, like Ravana and others, he's asking to come to the earth, take a human form and destroy them. Then Vishnu agrees. He says, I'll be born as a son of King Dasharatha. That's the only place in the beginning. And then right at the end of the story, after Ravana is killed, then again we see Brahma coming and reminding Rama who you are. Rama says, I don't know. I know that I am Rama, son of Dasharatha. I don't know anything else. Then Brahma comes again and says, no, you are Supreme Lord Vishnu, taken a human form for the purpose of destroying Ravana, and now your purpose of your birth has been fulfilled. All the other time, Rama is presented by Valmiki as an ideal human being without any supernatural powers. So all the things that Rama achieved through his training, through his administrative capacity, or his by his training and nature. If a person is represented, it is shown as God, then of course we will look up to that person, revere them, and worship the person. But we cannot have that person as a role model. If it's a God, then whatever the person does, will say, oh, well, that's nothing strange. He is God. He can do that. Look, in the story of Sri Krishna, Krishna is presented as God. From the beginning, Krishna is presented as God. So whatever Krishna does, we say, well, Krishna can do it because he is God. Don't expect me to behave like that. I'm not God, I'm a human being. So in order to give a role model for us, Valmiki presents Rama as a human being. And when God comes, take a human form, of course, his body and mind will have some imperfection. In the midst of all the excellences, he will have some imperfections. Like when Sri Ramakrishna got ill, throat cancer, some of the devotees thought, no, that he is just pretending it. It's not, for some purpose he is pretending, because how can he is God incarnate, how can he have any illness? And some others thought, well, if he is sick, then he is not God. He is not any God person. If he is a God man, how can he be ill? And Narendra and a few others said, Illness is due to, or the happening of the body. It has got nothing to do with being a God man. That's the dharma of the body. It happens. So there will be some imperfections. As a human being, the imperfections will be there. Rama is the embodiment of dharma and other great virtues, but that does not mean that he is free from all human weaknesses. Valmiki portrays several scenes where his human weakness is shown. Like when after going to the forest, after the meeting with Bharata, as we already heard, then they are alone, further away in the forest, just three of them, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana. And one day, Rama is feeling really homesick and he lamenting of being, his condition of being an exile. And when he hears that Sarada, the father, has passed away, he faints with extreme sorrow. When Sita was abducted, he weeps like it's an ordinary person, and almost like madman, he goes around asking the trees and creepers, animals and birds, have you seen Sita? Have you seen Sita? This is not this is all human weaknesses. And finally, you can see when Sita is brought back after Ravana was killed, Sita was brought to Rama, and Rama speaks very, very harshly to her, just like an ordinary human being, not even a great human being. All that shows when you assume a human body, you have the human weaknesses also. Of course, Valmiki gives here and there glimpses of Rama's divinity, even through the whole life. One prominent incident is the one when Vibhishana takes refuge in Rama. Vibhishana, younger brother of Ravana, told him how wrong it is to take somebody's wife. So he repeatedly asked Ravana to return Sita to Rama. And then he says, Rama is not a human being. Just don't think Rama is a human being. He single-handedly destroyed Khara and Dushana, the two chiefs, brothers of Ravana, and their 14,000 strong army. Single-handedly, he destroyed them all. Don't think he's just an ordinary human being. He is divine being. So give Sita back. Vibhishana addressed so much. Ravana, of course, won't listen. When we say, Vinashakale viparita buddhi, when you are doomed, you think always on the opposite way, on the wrong way. Nothing good advice won't enter your head. So he threw Vibhishana out. Get out from here. So what to do? Vibhishana went to Rama and took refuge. But being Ravana's brother, the companions of Rama, like Sugriva, Angada, Jambavan, all the leaders of the monkey army, said they're suspicious. How can we trust him? He is Ravana's brother. He may be a spy, maybe coming to find out our strength. So don't trust him. Then Rama made another famous statement. He says, I vouchsafe security against all living beings to him who comes to me only once and seeks protection from me, saying, I am yours. Such is my vow. So he's giving here a promise. This is my vow. I have taken this oath that whoever comes to me and say, I am yours, please protect me, I'll protect that person. Isn't it a great promise for us all? All we have to do is turn to God and say, I'm yours, please protect me. He will protect us. In Adhyatma Ramayana, on the other hand, is another version of Ramayana in Sanskrit. It is supposed to be written by sage Vyasa. It comes as part of the Brahmanda Purana. All the Puranas are written by Vyasa, so Brahmanda Purana is also one of them. So Adhyatma Ramayana is written by Vyasa, sage Vyasa. There, all the incidents in Rama's life has given a spiritual explanation. Here Rama is God incarnate. Rama and Sita are God incarnate. There is no Vishnu taken a human form, and he is fully conscious of his divine nature. Not unlike Valmiki's Rama, here Adhyatma Ramayana, Sri Rama is fully conscious of his divine nature. So Swami Tavasyananda writes, what Adhyatma Ramayana has done is only to make explicit what Valmiki has taught implicitly and indirectly in his great epic. Valmiki wanted to show an ideal human, a perfect person, as well as God. But that God part was kept at the background and the human being is projected. Whereas in Adhyatma Ramayana, that human being is pushed aside and the God part is projected. Sri Ramakrishna was very fond of Adhyatma Ramayana. We can see several references in the Gospel. And he used to speak quite often about Adhyatma Ramayana, what teachings from that, and also encourage the devotees to read and study Adhyatma Ramayana. Here, both Sita and Rama are God incarnate. They are the dual aspects of Brahman, the unmanifested and the manifested aspect. Rama represents the impersonal, absolute existence contained within himself. Sita represents the manifest aspect of Brahman, the personal, the creative energy. And not just that, almost all the characters here in Adhyatma Ramayana, or all the characters of Ramayana in this Adhyatma Ramayana know that Rama is supreme reality, not just a human being. So we can see everybody, almost all of them, praising Rama with hymns. To give one example, before as King Dasharatha was planning the installation of Rama as the heir apparent, the preparations is going on, everything is fixed. Sage Narada comes to Rama and says, now the king is going to install you as, Dasharatha is going to install you as heir apparent. Then how will you fulfill your mission? You have come to this earth to kill Ravana. And living here and ruling the kingdom, you won't be able to kill Ravana. You have to do something. Rama says, that's fine. I know, I remember. I haven't forgotten my mission. I'm fully conscious of my mission. I'll be going to the forest tomorrow itself, making Sita as an instrument. I'll destroy Ravana. And then Narada goes on to praise Rama. He says, you are Vishnu and Sita is Lakshmi. You are Shiva, Sita is Parvati. It goes on like that. And then in the end he says, you are Rudra, the destroyer, Sita, the Rudrani. To put it briefly, whatever female form is there in this universe, that is Sita. And whatever male form there is, that is you. Therefore, in these three worlds, there is none but you two. This is one of the common theme of all the different hymns that the different characters give to Rama there. The devotional schools often describe the creation, that is the world and the activities going on there, its happiness and miseries, joys and sufferings, as all as play of God, sport of God, Leela. God is playing. In Adhyatma Ramayana, we see many instances where those incidents are either being manipulated by gods or by Rama himself. It's a play. To give a few examples, as I said earlier, Rama's installation is being planned. Narada visits and tells him, and Rama replies, yes, I remember. And I'll be going to the forest, don't worry about that. Then, to complete the plot, the gods send Goddess Saraswati, asking her to influence Mandhara, the maid of Kaikeyi, and later Kaikeyi. So it's a whole, as though it is all a planned idea. So Goddess Saraswati comes to Mandhara's heart and mouth, and Mandhara, seeing the preparation, gets jealous, goes to Kaikeyi and instigates Kaikeyi. Now you are going to ask King Dasharatha for these two boons. First time when Kaikeyi heard that Rama is going to be installed, she was so happy. She rewarded Mandhara for giving the happy news. But then Mandhara worked on her, screwed her up. You foolish lady, you don't know what's going to happen to you. Kausalya will become the queen mother, and you will be relegated to your maid servant's position. How will you enjoy that? On and on, Mandhara telling all this to Kaikeyi, and then Kaikeyi fell into that trap. Then what to do? Mandhara reminded her the two boons that you had got from King Dasharatha years ago. Now ask for that. Ask the two boons. First, Bharata should become the king. Second, send Rama to the forest for 14 years. So Bharata will get enough time to consolidate his reign. All this planned by or manipulated by gods, sending Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati. And then in the forest, they were quietly staying in the forest in a hut. And you know that Shurpanakha came, wanted to ask Rama to marry her, and Rama in the forest there alone had a little fun, saying that, see, I have already got my wife here, Lakshmana doesn't have, you go and ask him to marry you. And Lakshmana said, I'm a servant. You wouldn't like to be a servant maid. You better get Rama to marry. Two times she went, then she got so angry. Rama is refusing because Sita is there. So I'll kill her. And at that time, the joke has gone too far, and Lakshmana chops off her nose and ears. She goes and tells her brother Khara, they come, all this happens. Then Ravana, it was reported to Ravana, and Ravana is coming to kidnap Sita. Rama, now I'm talking about how they are manipulating the whole story according to Adhyatma Ramayana, the play of God. Rama tells Sita, Ravana is going to come. You better hide yourself in the fire and keep a double of yours, a delusional Sita, a magic Sita. So that's what Sita did. Sita hid herself in the fire, and a double of Sita was kept in the ashrama. That was that double that was abducted by Ravana. And later, to get Sita back from the fire, again he has to have the drama of speaking harshly to Sita, and Sita entering the fire. All that has to be enacted again. All a play. And when after killing Marija, Rama is walking back towards the ashrama. In the meantime, Marija, just before dying, cried out in the voice of Rama, Rama, help me, help me. And hearing that cry, Sita asked Lakshmana to go and help Rama. That means Sita is left alone. That is the plan. That's how Ravana can come and kidnap Sita. Now, seeing Lakshmana coming, Rama talks to himself, singing loud. Oh, Lakshmana is coming now. He doesn't know that Sita, which was kidnapped by Ravana, is Maya Sita, not the real Sita. But I should not tell him that. So I'll pretend as though I am lost. I'm weeping. I am sorrowing for the lost wife. And when Lakshmana comes, he says, Lakshmana doesn't know about Maya Sita. So I'll act like a sorrow-stricken, worldly man searching for his wife. It's all pretense, acting, just to fulfill a purpose. This is all how Adhyatma Ramayana portrays. Because Adhyatma Ramayana their Rama is not projected as an ideal human being, but as God incarnate. So God plays in different ways. But Valmiki gives a completely different thing. As I said earlier, he projects Rama as God incarnate only very few times, properly in the beginning and the end, and then some indirect glimpses here and there. One highly disturbing incident is the way Rama speaks to Sita after she was brought. Ravana was destroyed, Ravana was killed. Rama asked Vibhishana, the king of Elanga now, to bring Sita. So Sita, the Rakshasa ladies gave her bath, decorated her, and brought her to Rama. Then we can see a very, really disturbing incident there. Rama speaks very, very harshly to her, to Sita. It was not just the people who witnessed that, like Lakshmana, Hanuman, Sugriva, Vibhishana, and all the army who were there, the sages, gods, all were disturbed by this harsh speech of Rama. Down the ages, even now when we read that, we get really disturbed. Till we remember that Rama is speaking just as a human being, an ordinary human being. Valmiki's Rama is a human being. Rama says, first Valmiki says, the heart of King Sri Rama was torn within him for fear of public scandal. Sita was in Sri Lanka in the palace of Ravana for 1 year. So he is suspecting Sita's character, her purity, and of public scandal. So Rama tells her, the war was not undertaken for your sake. The war I fought, destroying Ravana, the exertion put by the Hanuman and Sugriva and all others, it's not for your sake. It was done in order to vindicate my good conduct and remove the stigma on my family, Raghu clan. It has got nothing to do with you. And then he further adds, now you can go anywhere. I don't have anything to do with you. You can choose any of these people here. So harsh. Even now when we read that, we feel so disturbed. And Sita was shocked, as naturally you can understand. Sita, who never thought of anybody other than Sri Rama, was shocked. And then she protests in very strong language. She says, "Why do you speak to me as a common man would to an ordinary woman? I'm not as you think to be. I came from the sacrificial ground of Janaka. I'm not an ordinary human being. I came from the sacrificial ground of King Janaka. My origin is divine. You have not taken that into account." Then Rama is not moved by all that. The only way left for her to prove her purity and chastity is enter into fire. That's what she does. She asks Lakshmana to light the funeral fire and enters the fire. The whole world, they're shocked, looked at it. But the thing is that nobody dared to say one word supporting Sita. Such was the moral power of Sri Rama. His moral supremacy was so great that nobody dared to say anything against Rama. Sita enters the fire because fire is a witness for every act. Every sacred act in Hinduism is performed with fire as the witness. Either big home sacrificial fire or just a lamp. So fire is always there. Fire is the witness for the whole universe. So with the fire as the witness, she wanted to prove her chastity. Then even the gods were shocked. Gods headed by Brahma and Shiva, they were surprised at Rama's behavior. They gathered around him, saluted him, and addressed him as the creator of the world. And they said, "How could you remain indifferent when Sita entered the fire? How is it that you did not realize you are the first of deities and that you existed when the worlds were not and before they came into being? And yet you seem to ignore Sita like an ordinary human mortal. How can you do that?" And here again, Valmiki projects Rama as a human being. Rama's reply is, "I look upon myself as a man named Rama, born of Dasharatha. Be pleased to tell me my antecedents and why I am here." Then Brahma comes forward and reminds him that he is Lord Vishnu came into human being for this particular purpose of destroying Ravana. Now the purpose is fulfilled. Then we see Sita has entered the fire because she had no other choice. But she is purity itself. Her purity is too hot for fire to hold. So the god of fire brought her out. God of fire, the witness of the whole world, brought Sita out and restored her to Rama. Not just that, he told Rama, "Accept the sinless princess of Mithila, of absolutely untainted mind." Then he says, "I command you that she should not be told anything harsh." I like that sentence. I command you, she should not be told anything harsh. Speaking about the greatness of Sita, Swami Vivekananda could not say enough. In his lecture on sages of India, Swamiji says, Sita is unique. That character was depicted once and for all. There may have been several Ramas, perhaps, but never more than one Sita. She is the very type of true Indian woman. For all the Indian ideals of a perfected woman have grown out of that one life of Sita. There she will always be, this glorious Sita, purer than purity itself, all patience and all suffering. She who suffered that life of suffering without a murmur, she, the ever chaste, ever pure wife, she, the ideal of the people, the ideal of the gods, the great Sita, our national god, she must always remain. Modern people may find it hard because now everybody is following the Western ideal. And Swamiji says, the West says, act and be great. The East says, suffer and be great. The ideal of the East is suffer and be great. The West ideal is act and be great, which is the truer ideal, we cannot say. But then Swamiji says, let each one follow their own ideal. Now, with all of us following the Western ideal, we may find it hard, this ideal of suffer. But that's what the ancient Indian ideal. So Swamiji says, she who suffered that life of suffering without a murmur, she didn't complain. And you can see in the later part, again, when she was with, before giving birth to her children, she was abandoned by Rama again to the forest. But this time, Rama fully knew just to come to please the people, the subjects. And Swamiji says, Rama knew that the king is the servant of the subjects. The ruler is the servant of the subjects, of the people. If our present rulers remember at least once this ideal, how great it would have been. The ruler is the servant of the people and has to bow to their wishes. Any suspicion on the part of the subjects about the king, about the ruler, it's not good. So when one person started a rumor, how do you know that Sita, or how she stayed in Lanka? That one rumor was enough. Rama banished Sita to the forest. But again, you can see when later Rama has to perform a sacrifice. In the sacrifice, husband and wife should sit together to perform the sacrifice. Now Sita is in the forest. So the people said, now Rama had to marry again. That's the only time Rama said no to the subjects. Said no. In my life, there's only one person, and that is Sita. So instead of Sita, so they made a golden statue of Sita. And with that, he performed the sacrifice. That is the great ideal that we have. The Adhyatma Ramayana as a devotional scripture, philosophical scripture, we see many philosophical advice given other than the hymns. Almost every single person that you meet in the course of the Ramayana story will be praising the hymns to Rama or describing the truth about Rama or giving philosophical discussions. Just to give one incident or one example, Rama, when they came to the forest, Rama came to the hermitage of Valmiki and wanted to know where they can stay for some time. Now, 14 years they have to stay in the forest. So which is a good place to stay? The first they stayed in a place called Chitrakoot. That's where Bharata came and met Rama. It was too, emotional scene. So he didn't want to stay there anymore. Here, it is too disturbing. So he wanted to move further into the forest. So came to Valmiki's ashrama and asked where I can stay. So Valmiki, instead of giving a direct answer where he can stay, he gives a very interesting way. He says, All beings in the universe form a fitting residence for you. That is your common residence. Your common residence is all human beings. So all beings is your common residence. God is present in all of us. Then there is your special residence where you can stay with Sita. And what is a special residence? The heart of those who are peaceful, even-minded, friendly to all creatures, and who adore you with great devotion. Those who ever repeat your name and who are ever resigned to you, who are above the pairs of opposites, their heart is a happy residence for you. Those who are devoid of attachment and anger, ever content, who have dedicated all their works to you, their hearts form an auspicious residence for you. Those whose sins are removed by taking your name and singing your glories, the heart of such people is a fitting home for you to dwell with Sita. All this is, so God, if we follow any of these things, is sure that God will be residing in our heart. And Valmiki further expands that idea that if you chant the name of God, He will be there, staying, living in your heart, dwelling in your heart. He says, look at my case. I was a robber, and how chanting your name, I became a Brahmashi. That shows the power of God's name. We pray that Rama blesses us all. Thank you.
We have entered the school holidays, so please note there's no yoga classes during the school holidays. So for the next 2 Thursdays, there won't be a yoga class. Next weekend is Easter break. So we won't be having the Friday night discussion or the talk next Sunday. They'll all recommence the following week. So the next one, the Bhagavad Gita discussion will be on Friday, the 22nd of April. And on Sunday, the 24th of April, we will be starting a special series of talks on the Mundaka Upanishada, a monthly talk, a series of monthly talks to be given by Pravrajika Gayatriprana. That'll go right through monthly up to November. We have the donation plate there, donation box up the back, and please stay back to get a share of the sweets and savouries. And thanks again to all of you joining us via Zoom. And once again, we have recorded this and it will be put up on YouTube soon.